Welcome to the 2025 Unlimited Off-Road Series highlight show. I am Jim Beaver, joined with Tiffany Stone, Matt Martelli. Today, we're going to be dissecting the 2025 series and diving into 2026, which we've got a lot of big news in regards to 2026. Some of it's already been teased. Probably going to unveil a few things here today. But Matt, I mean, great to be back here in Oceanside in the Mad Media studios here. But tell us a little bit about 2025, man. It's been a big year for you with the Unlimited Off-Road Series. Obviously, we've got the combination, with Best in the Desert there for the finale. So kind of take us through 2025 in your view.
In my view, is fantastic. I mean, just amazing racing all around, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about this year is the evolution of racers coming up the ladder and winning championships, winning races, and a lot of battles back and forth. So it wasn't like somebody ran away with it really in any class. I will say Adam Householder's on a roll. He definitely has his race program and his equipment figured out. So I think he's going to continue to be somebody to keep our eye on. But we've got a lot of guys coming up, both in the unlimited truck class and the spec truck class, as well as UTVs and 10 cars and so on. And bikes. Like, let's not forget now, this year we had 3 races that included bikes. Next year we'll have 5. So 2025 was a fantastic year of racing, and I think 2026 is going to be even better.
Well, and Tiffany, obviously, you are boots on the ground out at these races, gathering all the stories. I mean, what are some of your favorite moments from 2025? Because you've probably talked with more racers than anybody.
No, you're absolutely correct. And what I was going to say, going off of Adam Householder, is Matt's correct. That team is dialed in. The pit situation is super dialed in. I know they're very strategic when it comes to pits. When you have longer races like the Mint 400, that's the strategy. What are we going to do for fueling? What are we going to do for tires? And Adam's always been that guy that he just wants to get better and better. And even this year at Ormhoff, the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, he got an Impact Award showcasing and highlighting what he's done right now in off-road. And I know that he's really looking forward to take that next step. And also talking to guys like top qualifiers, Nic Whetstone. Nic Whetstone, race after race, has been really getting those top qualifiers. I really do want to see him take it to the next level, get that checker, get that top podium, but he's another guy that I would definitely look at.
And it's funny because I think we're going to talk a lot, obviously, about Householder today, but kind of one of my takeaways, and we've seen him the last couple of years get fast, and I am seeing a parallel, and this might be a little bit controversial when I say this, but I'm seeing a parallel with what Adam Householder did to what BJ Baldwin did like a decade ago, where BJ had been around the sport for a long time, but he never really had that breakthrough. Everybody knew, he's fast, and he'd been running around in Class 1, he'd run in Trophy Truck a little bit, and then there was a switch that flipped, and BJ became ballistic BJ, and then he went on that tear where he was just winning everything, Baja 1000s back to back, and just winning and winning. And I feel like Householder's very much the same way. We've seen Householder in the sport for a long time. Everybody loves Adam. Everybody knew Adam's a pretty fast guy, but he kind of was an afterthought at times. And like the last couple of years, that switch got flipped, and we're seeing a different Adam Householder, and he is fully broken through, and now he's the guy with a target on his back.
He he's definitely gained confidence, and you can see that in his performances. Is he doesn't show up thinking like, oh, maybe I have a shot. He shows up going, I'm going to win, and everybody else needs to battle me. And that's apparent. That was very apparent this year, and I'm excited going into next year.
Well, talking about 2025, I mean, we're going to run through the series as as the calendar was, and starting off, we're going to start at the Parker 400, my hometown race. I absolutely love the Parker 400, the location. Obviously, I'm biased to Parker, let's face it, but the track is something a little bit different. We do have some really rugged, rocky sections. You've got the Jeep Trail, you got some deep sand out in Butler Valley, some of these washes, but then you've got the high speed of the graded dirt roads and some of that where it's strap in, man. These trophy trucks are just going as fast as they absolutely will. I think that's probably why I like Parker the most, is the diversity of terrain. Very similar in certain regards, not the terrain, but the diversity of terrain to something like you'd see in Baja, just where it's a mix of different things coming at you. But talking about Parker, obviously, Matt, let's kick off things with Parker. Some of your thoughts on the event.
Yeah, first off, if you haven't been to Parker, Arizona, go, because the area is absolutely stunning. It's right on the Colorado River, and the desert in that area is so beautiful and green. All you have to do is step off the main roads, and you get, just absorbed into this beautiful nature. So it's one of my favorite areas just to go ride, as well as race. And I like the track because it's very high speed, and it really shows you who is comfortable with going fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Tiffany, obviously you've been coming to Parker for a long time. I mean, we've been friends. You've been there. I mean, what are your thoughts on the race in the area?
So what I really like about Parker as a spectator, there's a lot of spectator-friendly areas, and obviously downtown, when you be able to have your tech and contingency, the whole team comes out, all of the friends, family. Jim, you used to tell me back in the day that you guys would have the day off just so you could be able to come down, check out all the trucks, check out, talk to some of the drivers. And it's exactly what you said. A few years back, Matt would do a poker run, and I actually went out there to do that to really get an idea of what the course was looking like. And you guys are absolutely correct. It's really beautiful once you kind of step back. There are some tight areas, some technical areas, definitely like rocky, like you were saying. As a Jeep person, I like those rocky areas. I know the drivers don't, especially for tire changes and whatnot, but it's really, like you said, it brings everything together. It kind of showcases how great of a driver, because we look at other races and some are just really, really great going fast, and going through a whoop section. But when you get to those tight technical areas, it really kind of showcases what type of driver you are. And you definitely have to have the attrition for the multi-laps out there.
Yeah, so, I guess kind of going through things, let's start with some of the key standouts of this race. And, I mean, we've already kind of alluded to things, but one of the first guys we got to talk about is Adam Householder. Wins Unlimited Truck, wins the overall, kind of set the stage for his 2025, but he came out guns a-blazing. I mean, he was just wicked fast at Parker.
He was very fast and had a very clean race. But, one of the things I wanted to talk about is not just his victory, but who some of the other trucks were there. And one of the coolest was, of course, the Black Diamond with Mark Post, with Robbie Gordon driving, right? So it was really good door-to-door racing. We didn't know until the very end that, Adam had enough gap to get him. So it was exciting racing all day.
Yeah, I remember when that specific video and that info dropped onto social media. It went viral, like instant. Post and Robbie Gordon, Robbie back in his original truck. Like, there was so many stories floating around. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that and have Mark out racing with us with Robbie Gordon again.
Yeah. So, Tiff, I mean, obviously we've got Adam Householder. I want to talk a little bit, though, about Conner McMullen. One in Spec Truck, first full year doing a Spec Truck. I mean, and then I want to talk just in general about Conner McMullen, because this kid is crazy fast.
No, absolutely. And looking at some notes, the timing right there, Adam Householder, 6 hours, 25 minutes. But then you look at Conner McMullen in a Spec Truck, 6 hours, 52 minutes. So you're kind of seeing the pace that the Spec Truck has. And once again, an up-and-comer with the driving style, the skill set to really kind of know. And whenever I get to talk to Conner, he's one of the nicest guys out there. He always has a lot to say, and he just says that he's taking that seat time. He's making sure he's taking the notes, and I really think that's something that you have to have. You just have to have the drive style, the notes, but also the teams. You know, your teammates and everybody helping you out there is really what it is. It's not just about the driver. It's also about your co-driver. It's about your team. It's also about the strategies.
Well, and I think, talking about Conner and just in general in Spec Truck and specifically at the Parker race. The Parker race is, there is a very big gap between Spec Truck and Unlimited Truck because Parker is one of the few courses where an Unlimited Truck can use their horsepower. We have those graded roads, we have those bladed roads, and I mean, that's one of those, if you've got, facetiously saying 2,000 horse, you can actually use it. So that horsepower disparity between the Spec Truck and the Unlimited Truck at Parker, it makes a huge difference, especially those outbound sand washes in Butler Valley. They get deep. I mean, they just eat horsepower alive. And so, when you've got that extra, 400 horsepower behind you, you can really make up a gap on a Spec Truck. For a Spec Truck to be running in the overall picture at Parker and having times even remotely close to an Unlimited Truck, to me, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, it really shows Conner's skill set, and he's one of the young guns that I'm really excited about for the future of off-road racing. It's really nice to have a lot of young guns coming up the ladder from UTVs and moving up into some of the other classes like Spec Trucks.
Yeah. Well, then, kind of moving on, talk about the bikes. We got to talk about bikes in Parker. I mean, Preston Campbell, Justin Morgan won the overall on the bikes. One thing about Parker is I ride dirt bikes out there all the time, and the course. One of the things interesting is the rough stuff, great on bikes. Washes, great on bikes. When you get onto the bladed roads and things like that, and you're running 120, 130 miles an hour on a bike, it's not fun. It's scary.
It's a little greasy.
It's a little greasy. To win on a bike at Parker, let me tell you, man, you got to have some cojones. It's not an easy one.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we felt was very important was, the entry level for off-road racing is bikes. And we want to keep that door open indefinitely because not everybody can afford a UTV or another four-wheel vehicle. So making bike racing a part of our series is very important to us.
Well, obviously we had bikes, and tying in with the bikes, let's talk a little bit about UTVs, Tiffany. I mean, we had, Bryce Allen, UTV Pro Open, first major win. Justin Von Metal, guy that's been around for a very long time, UTV Pro Stock winner. Let's talk about a little bit about that. And if you got anything on bikes, toss that in too.
Well, what I want to talk about with the bikes, though, with Preston Campbell is that he just dominates out there. You see him, once that helmet's on, it's different, but always speaking to him, he's kind of mellow, especially right, because usually he's P1 right out there. So I always talk to him. I said, hey, what's the game plan? What are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with that? And he's always like, hey, we're just going to go out there. We're just going to ride. And then he puts the helmet on, he starts and he goes, and it's a completely different person because, like you guys said, I get a chance to talk to all of these drivers and riders right before the race, and they're the most mellow person. So it's really cool to see that. And, Matt, a lot of people are excited the bikes are back. You brought them back to the Mint 400 a few years ago, and everybody was like, the bikes are back. So it's really cool to see you implement, like you said, 3 races last year, 5 races going into 26. So it's kind of cool. But going to Justin Von Metal, that's a character in himself. He's a great guy. There's a reason why he's a champ. There's a reason why he's racing in that class. And he always likes to tell people, hey, same thing. These are our game plans, what we're going to do. But what's cool about Justin is he's that sneaky guy that you never think about at the beginning because you hear the names like Sarah Price, you hear the names like Mitch Guthrie, you hear all these other names from other series or other places that they race. But Justin, he holds up with them. He's a great driver, and I think he's very methodical in the way he takes over a race.
And Justin, the other thing that I really like about him is he's really championed the UTV stock class, which is a great class to get started in because you're buying a stock vehicle, you're adding some safety equipment to it and a few modifications, but in general, it's not a ton of modifications, so it's a great starting point for people to come and race with us. Bryce Allen, that's a really cool story. Though it's two brothers from El Cajon, and they started coming and racing, and kind of looked at this whole thing from like a perspective of like, we're gonna try this out. Well, just like everybody else, hook, line, and sinker, they become addicted to it. But that was a major victory for them. And to your point earlier about Adam, you could see the confidence building in those guys. I had them on the podcast. They're great to talk to and to hear their story, but they just kind of passed the summit where they realize now they're not just out there cruising around in the back, but they can compete for the overall win. So that's cool to see.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's just everything about Parker, UTVs, dirt bikes. I mean, talking about dirt bikes going once again, like you guys were talking about bringing them back and, and all these other divisions. And I know obviously, now combining with Best in the Desert, obviously Brian, Casey, both used to race motorcycles, very high levels, so they're, they've got a passion for bikes, but there's something about a bike in the desert. I mean, everybody wants to say, oh, this guy's a cowboy. They're cowboys. You ride a dirt bike in the desert fast, you're a cowboy. It's not a motocross track. It's not closed course racing. It's, there's no cage. You're out there running 120 miles an hour across the desert by yourself with nobody around. That is cowboy stuff.
Yeah, there are consequences to going off your bike at 100 miles an hour, even at slower speeds, So, yeah, that's one thing that's really important to us is we want to grow and celebrate bike racing in our series. And to your point, yeah, Best of the Desert started as a bike racing series and evolved into a four-wheel vehicle and bike racing series. So it's in the DNA of the culture, and we're excited to carry that forward.
All right, so final takes before we move on to the Mint. Parker 400, Tiff, what's your takeaway?
I think it's one of those iconic races. It's 50 plus years. It's rich in history. And, I absolutely love stats. Whenever I interview somebody at the podium, it's all about the stats. And I feel like this year, yes, we did it 6 hours, 25. I think for 2026, Adam's probably going to get a little bit faster. I'm saying maybe 6 hours, 15.
Yeah, I think that the times are going to keep coming down as equipment gets better and people get more confident. But my big takeaways from Parker are like, hey, this is a really cool historic event. You can bring your friends and family to. It has fantastic camping, fantastic spectating. All of that is free now. So if you want to do something that's really cool with your family and friends, bring them out. Come to the event, come to Tech and Contingency, and watch the 2 days of racing. You're going to have a blast and be surrounded, in the beautiful Sonoran Desert right along the Colorado River.
Yeah, well, obviously, I am partial to Parker, both from a spectator standpoint, some of the best spectating in the United States for an off-road race. But I think from a driver's standpoint, I mean, it's very much a pure driver's track. You've got, like I said, so many different mixes of disciplines. It really, proves who's the fastest driver in a lot of different situations. So love it whether I'm racing it, love it spectating it, and obviously it's a fun place to live and hang out too. So, all right. That is the wrap up for the Parker 400. We're going to move on to the Mint 400 next. Okay, moving on here, we've got the iconic Mint 400. I mean, this one, when you start talking about motorsports in the United States, this one absolutely is one of the crown jewels of motorsports in the United States. But we all love the Mint. I mean, I grew up going to the Mint in the 80s with my dad and Fremont and all the festivities. And I mean, this is one, if you've never been to the Mint 400 as a racer or as a spectator, it's got to be on your bucket list. But, I mean, Matt, obviously, we can talk about the history of the Mint 400, and that would take a podcast in and of itself. But give us the overview on this.
Well, I mean, look, the Mint 400 is the crown jewel of off-road racing for a lot of different reasons. One, because it's in Vegas. It's accessible, right? Two, we've got the beautiful VIP area where you can bring your friends, your family, your wife, and have really one of the best food and drinking experiences with trucks jumping in front of you, right? So it doesn't get really better than that, but it does. It's all the events that lead up to the Mint, the parade, the off-road festival downtown Fremont, which is, a part of our DNA, and then 2 days of spectacular racing. So, yeah, the Mint's the big one, and every year we do it, and we're like, it grows. It continues to grow and continues to push the boundaries of reach in terms of off-road racing. So, obviously it's our event and it's near and dear to our heart, but I think it's the best example of what an off-road race should be.
Yeah. All right. So Tiffany, tell us what does a girl from Detroit think of the Mint 400 the first time you were there?
Well, and going off of what Matt said, 2018, very first Mint. I went as a spectator before I started working the next year, and I think the thing that I love the most as it grows and what it is the grid walk. Like, that's kind of one of the coolest things. You see it. I do a bunch of the driver interviews, P1, P2, all the way down, try to get some stories from them. But you have all of these people that are there for it, whether they're the first time or they're there for the 10th time. But being around them, being so close to your driver that you love, respect, and want to watch and cheer for, plus seeing how massive those trucks are, it's kind of cool. And for me, it's kind of what Matt said. It was a one-stop shop for great racing, great food, great spectating, and you get to be there right at the start finish. And nothing is cooler than seeing the flames fly right over there, the fire's going, you feel this energy, and then they do that infield, and you see everything right there before they head out into the desert and then come back. But all of that excitement in one area is just like a really cool feeling.
Yeah. Well, and, obviously we know she's partial to it, because if there's ever a Mint 400 museum, they're going to come knock on her door and want like her entire merchandise collection from the last 30 or 40 years.
Well, we always talk about that because I know Josh tries to get the jackets too. So when I see people like off of eBay, you guys head over to eBay. Don't get the ones I get, though. But if I even brought 3 here because I couldn't figure out which ones. And what I tried to do, Matt sees it, and I was like, hey, Matt, can I wear these jackets? He's like, absolutely. So all of my jackets, vintage jackets, I think I've got 7 of them now. So, but I always wear the Power Red on Saturday.
Awesome. So, talking about the Mint 400, let's talk a little bit about the track. You know what I mean? And the track has been different things over the years, but the last handful of years have been running something pretty similar. And this track, I think what makes the Mint iconic is not just the festivities, it's the track, because it's punishing, and this is one where we talk about Parker, where it's a mix of different things. The Mint's completely opposite of Parker. It is unforgiving. The one spot where you're not getting punished by the whoops or the rocks or the ruggedness of the Mint is Joshua Tree Highway. All right, so we're going to get into some flowy roads. Well, yeah, it's a little bit fast and it's flowy. The problem is now you're in this fast, flowy section with absolutely zero runoff. You've got Joshua trees lining it, so if you do make a mistake, you're running into a Joshua tree. And if you've ever seen anything run into a Joshua tree, it's the equivalent of running into Brock Lesnar's fist in an MMA fight. Like, it's just one of those, like, there's nothing there. So I laugh because I'm like, that's what makes the Mint iconic, because a lot of people finishing the Mint is a win because it's not easy.
Absolutely. I mean, this area of Nevada just happens to produce that geographic material of, like, it is punishing and it is, a brutal race, and just finishing is a victory. And there's really only 2 rest spots, and they're very short, 2 dry lake beds. And for a lot of people, that's not the rest spot, because, especially for the top trucks, that's where they're going to see the highest speeds that they can run, so you're going, it's really difficult to wrap your head around it, because you're going through all this stuff and trying to stay super focused, and then you're on a dry lake bed, then you're off the dry lake bed. So, I agree with you. It's known to be a rough course, and it'll always be that. Now, we're doing a little bit of tune up this year, because last year was especially brutal, because we didn't get the rain. Usually Mother Nature helps us quite a bit, put some rain out on the course, and it smooths out some of the square edges. This year we didn't have that, and I had a lot of guys finishing the race going, all right, we can take it down a notch here, Matt, but that's what the Mint will always be, a rough race.
Yeah, well, and I think that, lays into it, and so not only do you have the rough, unforgiving course, but on top of it, Tiffany, we get the most competitive fields we see all season because there's some drivers in some other series and things like that. And, they will come, even if they're not running for the full championship, into these one-offs. So we see all these drivers on the toughest course we run all year, and that all culminates in what is the Mint 400.
You're absolutely correct. You're going to see people like Kevin Thompson, Harley Lettner, who's usually P1 through 5, somewhere up there. Then you've got Ryan Arciero, you've got Rob Mack, you've got Justin Lofton, you've got all of these drivers who have won before and know what it takes to win. And it's always a toss-up because some guys like to be P1. They like to be out there. They like setting the pace. But then you've got other ones who want to be 2, 3, 4 so they can kind of see how the track's going to develop. With no real pre-running, it always changes. And then we never know what happens before when we are on the limited race, before the unlimited race. That kind of changes things up. And, still talking about the course a little bit, a thing that the guys always talk about is we start with the sunrise and they usually finish with the sunset. So they're also dealing with the sun in there, the visor, the dust, like you said this year, Matt. It was really weird because sometimes you want that dust, sometimes you want the rain to settle it down and make it not as dusty. Some want clean air, some want to chase people down. So it's cool because you have those top guys out there and each of them have a preference on where they kind of want to start.
Well, and that being said, the Mint 400 goes to the topic of, or the conversation point of this whole thing. All roads lead back to Adam Householder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But this is, again, what we were talking about earlier of Adam has his confidence, right? And he's won it before. Now he knows he could do it. So when he goes out there, he knows the pace and he's willing to put on this pace that I still every year I'm like, I don't think they could do it any faster. And then every year it's slightly faster. So, Adam put on just had an incredible race, ran a very intelligent race too, didn't overdo it, and came away with the win.
Well, and the other thing is and this is literally tipping the cap to you, Adam. But, Adam in the past has always been a chubbier guy. He shows up to the Mint this year. The guy had dropped, 30, 40 pounds. He was fit. The guy's been working out. He's been watching his diet. And when you see a racer go like that, he starts winning, and then he gets the fitness program. Adam is prepared for war.
You're absolutely correct. Adam did this in 7 hours, 1 minute. So us driving in a normal car, air conditioning going on, 7 hours seems like nothing, but this is 7 hours of brutal terrain, making sure that you're doing that. But I think a thing that attributes to Adam's winning and what he's done in 2025 is his co-driver, Trevor. Trevor is out there. If something's happening, he's out there changing that tire, especially when they're not at the pit. He's making sure that Adam's staying calm, that Adam is making the right turn, seeing what's going on. So I think that a lot of that is a team dynamic. They have such a good team dynamic, and the way they conversate inside the truck really speaks volume of also why Adam's doing such a great job.
Yeah. Well, and another guy doing such a great job. We got to talk about this guy because if you and I'm saying globally, the last 24 months, the most dominant driver on the planet, Brock Hager.
100%. You and I were talking offline about, we need to revive our top 10. I think it's an easy pick for who's the top one, right? Which is Brock Hager in the world, literally the best off-road racing driver in the world.
Yeah, went to Dakar he'd won everything here. I think the only thing he didn't win was Crandon because he didn't race it. And he goes to Dakar and dominates at Dakar.
Yeah, but for me, it was very interesting because, we're watching the races and especially, talking about the factory UTV program, which is a car that's built by Polaris, right? And it's an excellent car. But in general, it's been winning on courses that are mellower than the Mint course, right? So now you've got to dial it back and you've got to go, okay, I've got to win, but I can't break the car. And this car has never done the Mint course, right? So there was I had a lot of questions. I have a lot of faith in Brock Hager and his skill set and really his racecraft, right? No doubt there. But then when you're introducing a car that, hasn't been proven on this rough a terrain, there's some questions. And he went out and put on this pace and I was like, Brock, I am sitting there thinking in my head, like, you're going too fast, right? You need to dial it back. Lap 1. And I'm like, okay, he's going to dial it back because he's got a good gap on everybody. Lap 2, lap 3, he never dialed it back, right? And just had a dominant performance. And you know, it was just, again, this is the thing that I love the most is when we have these moments where you have the mechanics of the vehicle, you have the ability of the driver, and everything just clicks, and you have this magic thing that happens. You know, it's almost Jedi stuff, right? And that's what I saw with his victory this year at the Mint 400. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, Brock, he's on another planet, Tiffany.
Absolutely correct. I do want to ask you guys, though, you know, I've never really raced, and I don't understand some of the things that happen behind the scenes once you're in the seat, the helmet's down. But how does someone like Brock know how to drive on so many different types of terrains? Because like you were saying, globally, Dakar's different than the 1000, which is different than the Mint, which is different than San Felipe. So how does somebody like that, you know, from your guys' perspective, how does somebody know how to tone it down, how to bring it back, but never really tone it down?
I would say it's pretty hard, right?
Yeah, Rob Mack's the only other guy that I know that, you know, you could put into this conversation that's that good on so many different types of terrain. Maybe.
Well, I think what we're seeing, though, is we're starting to see this youth renaissance, right, of very capable drivers, because they start with us in trophy carts and UTVs as kids, right? And so by the time they're in their 20s, they've already been racing for 10 or 15 years, right? So that previously wasn't the way the off-road world worked. Usually it was like you made some money in your business and you're 40 and you're starting to race, right? And so, you know, we just have this big paradigm switch. But, you know, Brock has raced a lot of different things. He raced short course. He's raced different types of vehicles in the desert. He just knows it, you know. And it's funny because, you know, I wouldn't count out his family being from Imperial Valley and being a farmer, because he's running around the dirt every day. He lives and breathes in the dirt. He's running equipment, etc. So I think there's just a different level of racecraft that comes along with growing up in it. And it's clear when you see, you know, his performance.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, kind of talking about performances, kind of moving down this list, we got quite a few to go over here, but let's talk about Carob Potots winning Class 10. I mean, his family races, his brother, his dad, kind of a breakthrough win there in Class 10.
Yeah, super cool family. Love the family. And Carob is he's on this upward trajectory, and it's really fun for me to see that, because, you know, I've seen him as this little kid who was hanging out with his dad back in the day, and, you know, grow up all the way to become one of our top competitors.
Well, and one thing I like about, you know, what his dad has done with both the boys, you know, obviously they have trophy trucks. They've got unlimited trucks. They've got the money. He could start his kid out in an unlimited truck very easy, but he's chose to put them in like Class 10 and make them work through the ladder system, which, as we're seeing with his brother, has come in just absolutely gangbusters, you know? So dad's got, you know, the know-with-all, hey, we're going to start you out here and make you earn it.
Well, the other thing that was cool to see is at Parker, Craig was racing in Class 10, and I remember being in the pits, and he's telling Carob, like, don't let me catch you.
What I think I like about that, too, is that the mutual respect between all of them that they have. You know, sometimes when we have qualifying sessions, Cole has jumped in, or Cole has given him some notes, or Cole has talked to him about it. But I think that's kind of cool. And it's the family dynamic. And, you know, there's that small little rivalry within the family, but they're all still there to help each other. You know, the Pots kind of live where I live out in Arizona. And if you look at it, we live at the base of the Tonto National Forest. There's washes out there. There's rocks out there. There's certain things that they can kind of go shake down and do some certain things, because what I like about it is that right outside of our backyard, you just kind of take your vehicles out there, and it's kind of like what you said. You've earned respect, you've learned the vehicles, then you move up, you earn it, and then you're not out driving you're not driving the vehicle or letting that outdrive you. Does that make sense? You know, because you're kind of mastering what that is, and I feel like you take little things from each vehicle that you learn that really makes you that overall great driver.
Absolutely.
Well, and the other thing that's got to be really popular at the Mint is the amount of youth entries that we pull in at the Mint 400 every year. A couple shout outs was Wyatt Cotter winning Youth 1000. I know Wyatt's been running all over the place, different disciplines, and same thing, Ryland Gone won Youth 250, and Ryland, they've been bouncing around the Gone family, running some stuff in the short course series and things like that as well. So kind of a big shout out to both those kids winning at the Mint. It's a big trophy to have on the mantle early in your career.
Yeah, no, Wyatt Cotter, the Cotter brothers both of them are really fast, and they're going to continue to climb and be fast in the bigger classes of UTV as they get older. I'm excited to see them, grow up and move through those classes. But Ryland Gone, like, that was such a cool thing because, I know his dad, I know his grandfather, 3 generations of off-road racing, and the Gone family's done a lot for off-road racing besides racing with them. Michael Gone supports the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame every year. We have that beautiful the beautiful rooms that we get at the South Point Hotel and Casino. So it's just really cool to see that legacy carry on.
Yeah. All right. So, Tiffany, before we wrap up on the Mint 400, key takeaways from the Mint 400.
I think it's going to be a fast one this year. I think it's definitely going to be a fast one. Matt, you said we didn't get any rain last year. We had the most rain in this area within the last few months. Temps are a little warmer than normal as well, but I really think that's going to do it. I think we might see a sub 7 hour this year. That's what I think I'm going to do it. And if you guys ever get a chance, like I said, the grid walk is a thing that you must do. I absolutely love that. You'll feel all the energy. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, every year when the Mint comes around, I'm excited, right? Because, as a promoter, people were like, well, who do you think's going to win? And I have, some people like it'd be, Householder would be a good bet. But there's also a lot of other guys that are coming that, could very easily beat them. And it's really down to, one tire flat or a small mistake and you're out of it, right? So, and all the other classes that are super competitive. I mean, one of the classes that I'm super excited about is, in combination with combining our classes with Best in the Desert, we now have a massive pro class. So we're looking at probably 70 or 80 entries into that class. That's going to be a brawl, and that's going to be really exciting this coming year.
Yeah, I guess my key takeaways here. If you haven't been to if you're actually watching this podcast and you haven't been to the Mint, what have you been doing? And if you're on the fence, go. Whether you're a racer, whether you're a spectator, it's a good time. And I just got to throw one name out there. He's Mr. Mint, but he's not Mr. Mint yet, and that's Ryan Arciero. Like, buddy, we're all pulling for you. We know it's coming, Ryan. Like, this dude has earned a Mint 400 win, and he just I don't know what to say, Matt.
1,000%. We should literally have a spare engine ready for him. But no, he's due. He's due. He's one of those guys that's due. Harley Letner, Kevin Thompson, they're due. There's a handful of other people, that are racing for the overall that are due. So that's the exciting thing is you're like, man, we really don't know what's going to happen.
You would. I mean, I hate to even say this, but let's throw it out for the old boys. Like Tim Herbst every year. Tim's in there, and I'm like, Tim's due too. And it's been a while since we've seen Tim or Troy on top of the box.
Yeah, no, Tim's been right there. So, like I said, anything can happen, and it's going to be an excited year. Because we combine with Best in the Desert, our car counts already have grown. We've gotten a lot of commitments for the year, including the Mint 400. And we have some special stuff that's going to happen. There's going to be a guy that comes out. I won't say any names, but I'll say this. He's from East County, and he's super famous, and he'll be racing with us.
Good times. Definitely. I mean, Mint 400 is definitely one to watch. We'll be staying tuned, waiting for those announcements. And, time to move on to the next race. All right, so for the final race in the unlimited off-road racing season, this was one of the big news that's coming right before the Laughlin Desert Classic, Matt, because this was the big announcement about you guys combining with Best in the Desert to form what we're going to see in 2026, and we'll preview here shortly, the American Off-Road Racing Championship. But obviously, obviously California 300 went away. You combined forces for the finale at Laughlin. Huge race. But I mean, take us through that agreement, because you know what I mean? You and Brian got together, put all this together. You guys combined forces. Laughlin, one of the biggest Laughlins we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, I love Laughlin. It's such a great event. But yeah, we'd been talking about the future of off-road racing, and both of our groups felt that it was time to get together and unify everything. And they have some of the biggest races, and we have some of the biggest races, and combining them all just makes it better for everybody. So we announced it at the Vegas to Reno drivers meeting, and then we decided, rather than having our event and their event, that we were going to combine it and for one big season-ending banger at the Laughlin Desert Classic.
Yeah, which, took us to Laughlin. Laughlin, Tiff, you've been there a lot. I mean, this is a really fun course. We talk about Parker, the diversity of Parker. Then we talk about, the mint and the ruggedness. And then you get to Laughlin, and this is just an all-out slugfest.
Well, there's a few key words: short, fast, sandy, and huge whoops. If you've been there, you guys definitely know about that. And once again, it's another great place for spectating. You're right there out on the water. You've got these great, cool casinos, and just the history, and then the famous road crossing jump. Like, that's the cool thing to see too.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I love about Laughlin, it's different. It's 2 days and it's short sprints. It's like the merger of short course and desert racing for this one. And the funny thing about Laughlin is it's been the same course since the inception of Laughlin for the most part. So it's like drivers like me and most of the drivers in the field, I know every rock, every shrub, so it makes it really, really tough to get an edge on the competition, because everybody, Matt, knows that course like the back of their hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 14 miles, so it's much easier to remember than some of the longer courses. But like Tiffany was saying, that it's fast, it's sandy, it comes apart, so you get lots of whoops.
Chatter bumps get bad.
Lots of chatter bumps, the moon bumps, of course. And, the coolest thing is the iconic road crossing jump, which I got to see firsthand this year, and I felt like a little kid in a candy shop.
Yeah, it's rad. That's where you get some of those just awesome videos of the trucks flying, and they'll get a little bit of air underneath them, and it lifts the front up. And let's I guess dissect this one. Starting with our unlimited class winner, our unlimited spec winner, edging out Conner McMullen. We had Kyle Jurgensen.
Kyle Jurgensen, throughout the last few years, have really come into his own. I kind of really enjoy watching him. The MagnaFlow Camberg thing coming together. A few years back, they built this truck, and he was really excited to do that. His co-driver is one of his friends that he's known forever, so that's a great dynamic there. But Kyle's another one of those guys. You get him outside of the truck, and he's this calm guy, and then as soon as he's in there, green flag drops, and it's a completely different person. But it's really cool to see it. And like you guys were talking about, 14 miles, super fast. So we're looking at a time of 2 hours, 17 minutes, and that's what Kyle did that in and took the win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Kyle, but he's also in a really, really good vehicle. I know quite a bit about the Camberg vehicle, and it's a mid-engine fuel cell, which dynamically changes the vehicle. Throughout the race, you're losing a massive amount of fuel, which is weight. And so in most trucks, when they have the fuel cell in the back, that's really loosening up the truck, right? And changing how the truck responds. The mid-engine fuel cell, it keeps everything kind of even throughout the race. And they've also developed their own shocks and their own brakes now. So the whole package is working together. And, you see the success that Kyle's achieved with that truck platform, and now there's some other people that have started picking them up. So this coming year, Travis Williams picked one up, and a couple other people. So it's going to be interesting to see that go forward.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to unlimited truck, I don't want to say surprise winner. Tiff, you were just mentioning about Nic Whetstone being due possibly at the Mint 400, but he held off Adam Householder to be the overall winner. And obviously, we know Nic Whetstone over the past couple of years, he's just continued to improve.
He has. And what's kind of cool about this is when we're at the Mint, I get a chance to talk to Ricky Johnson. Ricky said that he was helping Nick develop, getting fast qualifying times, kind of giving him some notes. So like when the OG Ricky Johnson comes out and kind of tells you what to do, and that was what it was. He was getting fast qualifier, time and again, but he couldn't finish it. So it's kind of cool to see this. And it goes back to the winning breeds confidence. Confidence moves over to that next season. And that's why I think for 2026, I think now that you've got that win, it's going to carry over and then give you a little bit more boost, oomph, confidence. I don't know how you want to say it.
100%. You know, like this was a big win for Nic, you know, and I think that the thing to emphasize is that when you win in Laughlin, it's usually by seconds, right? So the margin of error is much smaller than some of the bigger races. So, you know, for him to win and win against the field that he won in the way that he won, I'm really impressed. And I see a lot of big things coming from Nic Whetstone.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about bikes too, Mike, or Matt, excuse me. But we've got Hayden Hintz winning on the bikes.
Yeah, really cool. You know, Laughlin got a lot of history of bike racing. So it was really cool to see Hayden come out and do well. And, you know, I think it's one of those things where like you go finish the end of the year and you're like, hey, I won the Laughlin Desert Challenge on a bike overall. That's a big, big victory.
Yeah, Laughlin, I mean, we go back to hair scrambles, stuff like that. I mean, there's been a lot of racing on bikes at Laughlin over the years.
There still is. The weekend after the Laughlin Desert Challenge, they had a hair scramble with like, I don't even know, like 1,000 bikes or something crazy.
Yeah, and you watch the hair scrambles at Laughlin, some of the single track and things like that. It is definitely entertaining. So let's talk moving through some of these classes. You know, want to get those because we got to talk about season champions as well. But, you know, Carob Potots getting edged out by Brody Atkins. We had Tyler Schmidt and Josh Rose, some UTV winners, and Wyatt Cotter, Youth 1000 overall winner. Tiffany, you know, give us some of these takeaways on some of these names that we've, you know, had taken victories.
Well, it was cool to see Brody do that. And Brody, you know, honestly, we're looking at Carob. Carob's a great driver. What we've talked about, he's been able to overall podium in his class and do all of those things. But with Brody only beat him by 3 minutes. But like you guys were saying, 3 minutes is a lot. And I don't think that people realize that 3 minutes may seem like a short amount of time, but it's a lot of time because you can always have your mistakes. And this is once again where pit strategy comes into play, because if something doesn't go correct at your pit, you know, you miscalculate on fuel, you miscalculate on it, re-racking a tire or anything like that. So it's kind of coming down to those seconds, but 3 minutes, we look at it, we're like, oh, that's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of a huge gap if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah. Well, how about some of these winners, Matt? I mean, any standouts for you?
I mean, they're all standouts because they won. But, you know, I would say the UTV class, which was really stacked, it was a big victory for Josh Rowe. Wyatt Cotter, again, you know, this is one of the young guns that's going to continue to grow and get faster. Tyler Schmidt as well in the UTV Pro Open. Yeah, Class 10, you know, it's an important class to us. There's a lot of Class 10 racers out there, and we want them racing with us. And as you can see by the coming car count for Parker, a lot of them are signed up not just for Parker but the entire season.
Well, let's talk about that. You know, season champions from this year, we've got Adam Householder, Conner McMullen, Aiden Coots, Bryce Allen, Carob Potots, Jarrett Megla, Sean Runyon, Brixton Wirt, Savia Levinson, Jeff Picton, and Justin Von Metal, just some of the season champions. I mean, any of those names there you want to you know, talk about their seasons?
Man, I could go on for hours about all these guys and gals. You know, I will say a couple. I mean, obviously Householder, this is his third in a row. He won two-wheel drive class 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and then has won overall in the other 2 years. So he's definitely in mode. You know, he's got his confidence, and I think he's going to continue to dominate. Obviously, Conner McMullen, this is a huge one for Conner. I mean, I didn't really have any doubts once he moved into Spec Truck that he was going to win races and do well. But, you know, he doesn't have a giant budget, and this is his first full year racing his own program. So it was cool to see that. Most people, it takes them a little while to figure their program out, even if they are a good driver. And then really the other one that I want to give a shout out to is Savia Levinson. You know, when we see these young men and young ladies come up, and you can see it unlock what I'd call the championship mode in them, and she's one of them, and it's really cool to see her at such a young age. This is her second class or overall a championship with us.
All right, so wrapping up the entire 2025 season before we jump into 2026, Tiffany, takeaways from 2025.
I think we're going to see a bunch of different drivers come through, like Matt's talking about this. The field, the stacked, it's going to be crazy to see the car count. And with a bigger car count, you're going to have different drivers, different styles. And I think this year, Adam Householder does have that target on his back, but he's going to have a bunch of drivers coming after him looking for that win because he is the person to beat right now. Getting the Impact Award at Ormhoff for 25, that showcases what you've done in the last 12 months. Another person that I kind of look at this down here, Jarrett Megla. Now that we have 5 races with bikes, I want to see what the bike count's going to be because you guys always talk about it. The bikes are really kind of what started everything for off-road, getting into it, With that, I just think that the bike count, there's going to be a ton of great riders out there, a ton of people coming out. We've got the Preston Campbells, we've got the Ricky Brabecks, but I think Jarrett Megla, he's going to be one to kind of watch too in the bikes.
100%.
I guess for me, kind of final takeaway on 2025, it's, got to talk a little bit about Nic Whetstone and Adam Householder. I mean, Adam, obviously has, become the man. They say to be the man, you got to beat the man, the whole thing from Ric Flair. And, you've got Adam Householder's continued to beat the man and the men, and he is the guy now. And then you've got Nic Whetstone, using that same terminology at Laughlin, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Nic Whetstone beat the man. He beat Adam Householder. And so I'm looking at this deal going in. You've got these two guys, these two emerging drivers, and then you've got all the veterans like we talked about going through the mint, and all the other guys that are racing. And I'm like, this is shaping up where you've got all these roads leading to 2026, and I feel like it's just going to be fireworks all season long.
I 100% agree. I think it's, the field is already stacked. People want to be not just the race winner now because of the 5 race championship that we put together with Best of the Desert. Everybody's looking at that championship going, hey, 5 races, I could pull that. We're even giving them 1 throwaway, right? Just to make it soft on the first year. So we're excited for 2026.
Yeah, well, 2026 is going to be a barn burner. We're going to get into that here in just a second. All right, so for 2026, the Unlimited Off-Road Racing Series and Best of the Desert have formed the American Off-Road Racing Championship. I know a lot went into this, Matt. I know me as a driver, I'm really excited about this. We needed it. It's going to be healthier fields, things like that. But there was a lot that went into this. I mean, one of the key things is obviously we've got 1 set of points now. It's 1 merged series. It's 1 championship. Probably the toughest thing you guys had to accomplish, though, was classes and rule books. And now you've got 1 set of classes, 1 rule book. I mean, how did all that come together? Because to me, that's one of the biggest game changers of this whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about is unification. Like, we want everybody racing together with the biggest fields and the most competitive fields in off-road racing, period, right? And so coming together with Best in Desert's team and the Unlimited team and unifying the rules, it wasn't that bad. We weren't that far off of each other. We just had to make some hard decisions about, where we thought the future of off-road racing was going and where we wanted to, control certain classes. So it's a good problem, probably the biggest challenge was the UTVs, right? We've got a lot of classes in UTVs. Manufacturers continue to make new vehicles that don't fit in our rule set. So we've got to manage that ongoing. I mean, everybody saw Toyota show up at the SEMA, and I got all the phone calls like, what class is that going to fit into? I'm like, it's probably going to end up being its own class. You know what I mean? Because it currently doesn't fit. So, no, it was good. And we have a lot of good people on our team and a lot of good people on their team giving not just input from, historical perspective. Of course, we've got Bill Savage and Tommy Morris on our team. And then on the Best in the Desert team, Alan and, of course, Brian. So it was a little bit easier than we thought. There was still some some things that we're like, we don't want to do that. We're going to limit it to this. But all in all, I think we made the right decisions, and it's going to be good for the future of off-road racing.
All right. So, looking at the calendar, obviously we start out with the Parker 400. It's going to be in January. I mean, Tiffany, we talked about that earlier in the show, but Parker, it's kind of a traditional kickoff to off-road and things like that. So we may kick it off things in Parker.
Yeah, with the Parker race and with the races that we have throughout the season now, what I think from my perspective and in somebody that helps deliver those storylines is it's going to show the consistency. It's going to show the overall team's consistency rather than just fast teams. Because we always see the fast teams out there. Of course, they take, some of the top overalls. But I think now it's going to be about consistency, about keeping your vehicle together. And then, it's the mechanical DNFs are going to go a lot farther. If you have a lot of DNFs, it's not going to obviously help you, but it's going to show. And I think the word is consistency for the whole season, starting with Parker.
Yeah, one nice thing that we've done this year is we're allowing for a throwaway race. So if you have a bad race, you can throw it away in the championship. But Parker's a great one to start with. It's not necessarily a punishing course, so you can go and you can have a good race and kind of pace yourself. If you're looking for the championship, you don't have to go there and burn the car down to get a win. You can get a top 5, get a top 10, and now you're in points contention for the rest of the series.
Yeah. So we go from Parker, which the first couple of races are going to mirror kind of the traditional unlimited off-road racing calendar. We move into the Mint 400.
Yeah.
And from the Mint 400, then this is the big one we want to talk about, Matt, is Silver State 300, but it's not the Silver State 300 people are accustomed to. This one's going to be run out of Tonopah.
Yeah, it's a loop out of Tonopah, or multiple loops out of Tonopah, and that's a really bitchin' section of essentially Vegas to Reno's course, right? But from a driver's perspective, it's a really, really fun course with lots of terrain changes. And this is one that Brian Folks, put together, and he loves that area as well. And so we're excited to be doing it there. I think the racers are going to love it.
As Tiffany Stone said, it's the Clown Motel 300.
No. I'm telling you guys right now, Matt, if you do it, I quit. Jim's going to have to go.
We're going to put Tiffany at the Clown Motel just so she can have the full experience. But no, it's actually a really cool area of Nevada with a lot of history.
There's a lot of history there with the mining and things like that.
So it's just got a lot of flavor to it, and it's fun to either camp in tent, RV, weather's good that time of year, and or stay in one of the hotels. So it's going to be a cool race. We're excited for that.
Yeah. And then, a non-race next on the calendar, but this looks like a lot of fun. It is the Vegas to Reno Legends Rally, or Reno to Vegas Legends Rally.
Yeah, so it's a pre-run for the racers, right? And we're using stock street vehicles because of the amount of transfer stages that we have on road. But this is one that is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of the racers who've been around for a while remember the Vegas to Reno pre-runs that were just spectacular in terms of camaraderie, and it was all about fun. We're basically doing the same thing, but instead of just limiting it to racers, you can actually bring, let's call them civilians, out on this one, and get your Raptor, get your TRX, get your F-150, whatever you've got, and come out and spend a few days running the actual Vegas to Reno course with us, which this year is going to be very special. It's the 30th anniversary, and we're running it backwards. So we're actually going from Reno to Vegas.
Yeah, which, Vegas to Reno, I call this, I've always said, it's probably one of my favorite races outside of Parker and the Baja 500, but it's an adventure race. You go across an entire state, and the scenery is amazing, and it's all kinds of different diverse ecosystems. You're up on the top of mountains, you're down on dry lake beds. I mean, and Nevada has such a rich history. It's really, like I said, it is an adventure race. That's what I love. It's, obviously we've got Vegas to Reno, the race, which we kind of previewed with the Legends Rally, but I think it's pretty awesome for the first time ever. You're inviting fans to bring their capable off-road vehicle out and come have some fun and see the course.
Yeah, we want to show off-road racing culture to people and bring them in. So we're excited about that. I know, Tiff, you're looking forward to it.
I'm so looking. I was just about to say, Jim, I can bring out the Jeep. You and I can go pre-run this together, have a little bit fun, have a misadventure, maybe.
Yeah, it is definitely. I'm looking forward to that one. And then, to round things out, we've got the Laughlin Desert Classic mid-October. Weather is beautiful in this area, in mid-October. And, what a way to, wrap things up with just an all-out slugfest.
Well, before we wrap it up, I want to talk about Vegas to Reno, the actual race, for a second, because like I said, this year it's backwards. So we're starting in Reno and we're ending in Vegas, which means Tech and Contingency are going to be downtown Reno. We're super excited about that. We've already been working with the city. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, the race is always fun, and we're doing it backwards. So there's going to be a few changes that I think people are going to be pretty stoked on.
Yeah, downtown Reno's awesome. They've got, the river, the creek that runs through there, and you can go swimming right in downtown Reno. And if you haven't spent any time in the Reno area, it's a pretty fun place.
Yeah, and that downtown area is going through a bit of a renaissance right now. I was down there a little while ago, and of course, what did I find? I found all the breweries that were there, right? And which was only a block or so away of where we're going to be doing our off-road festival. So it's going to be a good way to start it. And then we end a little bit closer to Vegas than normal. So I think people are going to be stoked on that too.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good time. So then we move on to the Laughlin Desert Classic for this all-out slugfest to wrap things up, Tiff.
Yeah, I think with this one, especially the last race, I think it's going to show the attrition of the truck or the vehicle that you're in, and it's going to show the different drive styles of the actual driver, co-driver themselves. Because, we look at the beginning of, like we're normally talking about, Parker into the Mint, and then last year and previous years, we had Barstow. They're kind of similar in some sense, but I truly think that this is going to show the reach or the range of the driver, and once again, reliability of your vehicle, and then the consistency of you, your team, your vehicle. That's really going to do it, because just because you're fast doesn't mean you're consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great race for spectating. They have fantastic hotel infrastructure that's only blocks away from the race course. Tech and Contingency will be in that right in the middle of that downtown area. So it'll be, big and visible, and we're bringing in a lot of vendors for this coming year. It's going to be exciting racing, and we're looking forward to it.
And I think the thing that I'm most excited about 2026 is honestly just this merger. You've got a lot of racers that have been running with Unlimited, a lot of racers that have been running with Best in the Desert. Now everything's combined, one set of rules. It is a proper American-based championship series at a very high level for desert racing, and it's been desperately needed for, since the pandemic.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, there's a lot of things that Best in Desert does better than us, and vice versa. I mean, we're known as the promoter marketing guys. And they're known as the real operational people. I think it's a really good marriage. We're excited. 5 races we felt was kind of right in the zone where everybody's at right now, with the economy and everything going on. So we're excited. I think it's going to be a really, really stacked year of racing with big car counts and, lots of excitement and, in a lot more coverage than off-road racing's had in the past.
Yeah. Anything you're looking forward to in 2026, Tiff?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the overall driver that comes out. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be, you've got the best from what was Unlimited, you've got the best from what was Best in the Desert, and now they're trying to show who is the best. And I think that's really going to push people like you said, Adam Householder, Nic Whetstone, and I think we're going to get a lot of drivers that commit to the full season, like a Kyle Jurgensen.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of those commitments already. The nice thing about our registration system, which I got to give Killian a shout here for putting that together, is that you don't have to prepay for every single race. You just put down deposits as your season commitment, and there's payment gateways, so everything's kind of managed well. It's not one big hit at the beginning of the year, which nobody wants after the holidays. So yeah, it's really cool, and we're really excited to see. To your point, like who's going to come out not just for the winners of each race, but who's going to have that consistency to win the points championship.
Yeah. Well, I think 2026 is going to be one hell of a great season of off-road desert racing, and it all starts at the American Off-Road Racing Championship Parker 400. That's going to be Martin Luther King weekend. Slight change of schedule, but man, it's going to be fun. Be there.